I'm Bill Gates, co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ask me anything. Hi Bill, what is a life lesson you learned the hard way? Don't stay up too late, even if the book is really exciting. You will regret it in the morning. I am still working on this problem. What's your worst fear for the future of the world? Hopefully, we won't see terrorists using nuclear or biological weapons, and we need to make sure it remains difficult for them to do so. I'm disappointed that more isn't being done to reduce carbon emissions. Governments need to invest more in basic energy R&D to ensure we get cheap, non-carbon dioxide emitting energy sources as soon as possible. Overall, I'm fairly optimistic. Things are a lot better than they were 200 years ago. Hey Bill, what were you like in your early teens, and what would you change about yourself back then? Did you know you wanted to be a software developer from an early age? What helped you in picking your career path? Were you always confident you'd be a successful software developer, or did you have some self-doubt? I first came across a computer when I was 13, and it instantly fascinated me. I spent countless hours trying to understand what programming was all about, starting with BASIC and then moving on to machine language. By the time I was 16, I landed a job programming at TRW, which helped me grow even more, while skipping part of my senior year. I was fortunate to discover something I loved doing, and it only grew more important in the years ahead. I've often had self-doubts about many of my skills, but programming has always been the one I felt truly confident in. What technology are you most looking forward to in the next 10 years, and what impact do you think it could have? The most amazing thing will be when computers can read and understand the text like humans do. Today, computers can do simple things, like search for specific words, but concepts like vacation or career or family are not understood. Companies like Microsoft and others are working toward this goal of building a truly helpful assistant. It's long been considered a kind of holy grail in software, especially now that vision and speech are mostly solved. Another big frontier is robotics, where human movement and dexterity remain astonishing. Experts still disagree on how long it will take. Maybe just a decade, or perhaps much longer before machines can truly match us. Hello, Bill. When did you consider yourself a success? There are many domains in which to be successful. I was successful in getting good grades and test scores in high school. I was successful at writing good code by my early 20s. The dream of the PC being an enabling tool came true by the 90s. Now I am working on being a good father and on the ambitious goals of the foundation, including getting rid of polio and malaria. I think it is always good to have goals where your success is in doubt, and I have that in many areas, including the work I do on climate change. What are your hobbies, and how do you balance time between them and your work, family, and other obligations? P.S. You're a huge inspiration in my life and a role model too. Thank you for everything you do. Allocating time is always tough. Tennis is a big hobby for me, and I try and play twice a week and a bit more in the summer. I always try and read a few books every month and a bunch on vacation. Melinda and I look over our schedules a lot to make sure we are balancing things well. I travel about 30% of the time for the foundation, which I enjoy. How do you see automation affecting our economy over the next 10 or 20 years? Automation has been driving productivity ever since the Industrial Revolution in areas like farming with tractors and garment manufacturing. With software, this acceleration will continue, so we need to think about how to educate people for the new jobs that will emerge. Overall, automation is a great thing. Eventually, we won't have to work as much, but we're still at least a generation away from such a big change. Hey, what do you think about increasing economic inequality in the world? What do you think is wrong in the system that is causing such an economic inequality, and what should be done about it? I think the safety net and equal opportunity still need to keep improving. 100 years ago, there was basically no safety net at all, and now it's getting stronger. I'm surprised more countries don't have estate taxes, since they help redistribute wealth and prevent dynasties. Our economic system has created the wealth that we can now share in a fairer way, so despite its flaws, it has accomplished amazing things over the past 200 years. If you were born into a low-income family, do you think you would have managed to become as rich as you are now? I benefited from having a great education, public schools through 6th grade, and then a great private school in Seattle, Lakeside School. So there is a good chance I would never have gotten turned on to software and math the way I did, and therefore not as successful. Hi Bill, What do you think needs to be done to ensure that everyone has adequate food in the future? There is some cool work going on to make meat without using animals, which will be far more efficient. The foundation is funding research on improving photosynthetic efficiency, and the potential there is huge. If we can get African productivity up, then we will be able to feed the world, but we need to innovate to help them have much better seeds. Do you think in the near future we will have another financial crisis similar to the one in 2008? Yes. It is hard to say when, but this is a certainty. Fortunately, we got through that one reasonably well. Warren has talked about this, and he understands this area far better than I do. Despite this prediction of bumps ahead, I am quite optimistic about how innovation and capitalism will improve the situation for humans everywhere. Is a cure for Alzheimer's a real possibility in the near future? And will it be accessible to people on Medicare and Medicaid? There have been many failed Alzheimer's drug trials. The good news is that the new tools we have are helping us understand the disease much better. For example, the role of glial cells. I'm optimistic that within the next 20 years, we'll have effective drugs, as long as we stay focused, share data, and support startups with funding. I'm personally involved in several of these efforts. Hi, Mr. Gates. Do you ever just randomly get up when you're home and make yourself a peanut butter sandwich? Or do you have people do that for you? I do make myself tomato soup sometimes. It is kind of a comforting food and reminds me of doing the same when I was growing up. I don't make sandwiches much. Do you eat non-GMO food? What does your daily food look like? GMO foods are perfectly healthy, and the technique has the possibility to reduce starvation and malnutrition when it is reviewed in the right way. I don't stay away from non-GMO foods, but it is disappointing that people view it as better. What is something that needs to be changed in the world, but money won't help? It would be nice if all governments were as rational as the Nordic ones, reaching compromises and providing services widely. The Economist had a great special section on this last week. African governments have often been weak, but you can't just write a check to fix that. Fortunately, the overall quality is improving. Hi Bill, my question. Is there anything in life that you regret doing or not doing? I feel pretty silly that I don't know any foreign languages. I took Latin and Greek in high school and got A's, which I guess helps my vocabulary, but I wish I knew French, Arabic, or Chinese. I keep hoping to find the time to study one, probably French since it's the easiest. I did Duolingo for a while, but didn't stick with it. Amazingly, Mark Zuckerberg learned Mandarin and even did a Q&A with Chinese students. Pretty incredible. What is your opinion on Bitcoins or cryptocurrency as a whole? Also, do you own any yourself? Bitcoin is an exciting new technology. For our foundation work, we are doing digital currency to help the poor get banking services. We don't use Bitcoin specifically for two reasons. One is that the poor shouldn't have a currency whose value goes up and down a lot compared to their local currency. Second is that if a mistake is made in who you pay, then you need to be able to reverse it, so anonymity wouldn't work. Overall financial transactions will get cheaper using the work we do and Bitcoin-related approaches. Making sure that it doesn't help terrorists is a challenge for all new technology. Mr. Gates, do you feel that we are facing an overpopulation problem on this planet? If so, what do you think needs to be done about it? Fortunately, as people get healthy, they choose to have less kids. We have already had the maximum number of births. That number is starting to go down. We still need to help provide health and contraception in poor countries, but all of the global population growth is coming from people living longer. These were Bill Gates' answers on Reddit. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment about what impressed you the most.